Others transmigrate to vie for power and position. But I just want to be a local emperor. 7 years of effort, I turned Taoyuan County into an ancient-style resort. Even the manure from the neighboring county ends up here. No way it gets dumped in the neighboring county. Until one day, a man in plain clothes gets fined 5 coppers on the street. The eunuch behind him turns green in the face, and I realize the emperor is here. I am Fong Jingyi. I transmigrated into the Great Jing Dynasty 7 years ago, serving as the county magistrate of this godforsaken Taoyuan County. In 7 years, I transformed a broken place where the deputy magistrate starved, the instructor fled, and the people were gaunt and pale, into an impregnable paradise on earth. I dazed merchants with high-proof liquor to break into the market, tricked and coaxed refugees into settling here. The population swelled to tens of thousands. Gambling dens, taverns, brothels all in full swing. Flush toilets, milk tea shops, cobblestone roads everywhere. Imperial inspectors came, but I sent them packing. Now I have only one thought: to rule as a local emperor here for life, living the good life. That day, I was lounging in the Snow Moon Pavilion, eyes half closed, enjoying a massage from a beautiful maid. That bastard Zhang Biao burst in shouting, "Young master, we found some out-of-town merchants outside the city. They were not flying our flag. Want to hit them again?" I kicked him in the leg and said, "We re the government, not bandits. Learn to operate by the book, got it?" The shopkeeper smiled apologetically on the side. I gave a cupped hand salute and left. Run your business honestly. If you dare bully any woman, I'll tear down your building. With that, I took Zhang Biao and sauntered back to the yamen, having no idea that huge trouble was already at the city gate. 10 li outside the city, a shabby carriage creaked over a muddy road. Inside sat Emperor Jing, Li Che, with knitted brows. Beside him, Chief Eunuch Guitianyang held a map with great deference. "Your Majesty, we'll reach Taoyuan County in half a day. This place is remote, and the road has been in disrepair for years. I'm afraid it couldn't be any smaller." The emperor closed his eyes and said nothing. He was troubled in his heart after so many years of war. The realm had only just been pacified, yet natural and man-made disasters kept striking everywhere. Memorials piled up like a mountain. With a grit of his teeth, he left a letter and slipped out of the palace in civilian clothes. He wanted to see with his own eyes what this land was really like, but the road was so bumpy that his bones felt like they were coming apart. Just as he was thinking this, the carriage gave a violent jolt. Guitianyang's head bounced up and hit the carriage roof. He stuck his head out and cursed the driver. "You dog-killing brute, if you startle my master, I'll have your head." Before he finished, he froze. Ahead lay a straight black-gray road, reflecting a strange sheen under the sunlight, so flat that not a single bump could be seen. Stone slabs lined both sides of the road, and beyond them were lush green crops. He turned to look at the broken road they had come from, then back at this smooth path ahead. Rubbing his eyes vigorously, he thought, "What kind of road is this?" Emperor Jing leaned out and was also stunned. The carriage rolled onto the new road, as smooth as gliding on water. A gentle breeze brushed his face, and at last, his tightly knitted brows relaxed. He surveyed the road and the crops, muttering to himself, "How could an obscure little county build such a road? The officials here must be extraordinarily capable. Why had he never heard of them?" Half an hour later, signs of human activity appeared on the road. Commoners were walking or riding donkeys, their faces ruddy and clothes neat. The farmers in the fields were also full of energy. Emperor Jing nodded slightly, somewhat satisfied. Then the city wall came into view. At that moment, Emperor Jing and Guitianyang's mouths fell open simultaneously. The wall of this small county town stood over 10 meters high, with gray-white bricks. Above the city gate, in gold embossed characters, were the words Taoyuan County, and the gate tower rose majestically. The entire city exuded an aura of impenetrability. The emperor's face gradually darkened. He turned and growled, "Guitianyang, there's a fortress city within 100 li under my very nose, and no one reported it? What the hell are your agents doing?" Guitianyang was so terrified that he fell to his knees with a thud and kowtowed like a pestle pounding garlic. He truly had no idea the Imperial Guard might be resourceful, but they wouldn't bother with such a remote, poverty-stricken valley. Who would have thought there was a fortified city hidden here? The emperor snorted coldly. "Get up. We'll talk once we're inside the city." The two presented their travel permits and approached the city gate. An official asked, "What business do you have in Taoyuan County?" "Trade. My master is in the porcelain business." Hearing the word trade, the official curled his lips and whispered a few words to the man beside him, who immediately sprinted into the city. Emperor Jing, puzzled, casually asked, "This wall is so tall it must have cost a lot. Did the government impose extra taxes?" As soon as the words left his mouth, one of the guards laughed and said, "Asked." And he asked, "Pay up." It turned out they had been betting among themselves. The guard who had questioned him reluctantly fished out 10 coins and handed them over. Then he explained, "This city wall is just for show. The outer layer is stone slabs with patterns carved into them. Our county magistrate came up with the idea because he thought the earthen walls were too ugly. It didn't cost much." Emperor Jing was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. The anger from before vanished like smoke. So it was a clever touch by a refined man, a false alarm. His mood lifted. He had Guo Tianyang take out a tael of silver to reward them, but the guard's expression hardened. "Take it back," he said sternly. "We don't do such things in Taoyuan County. They want to take money." Guo Tianyang's hand froze in midair. Emperor Jing raised an eyebrow, gave the guard a long look without saying a word, and then strode into the city. As soon as they entered the city, both fell silent. Everywhere they looked, the ground was paved with stone slabs, spotlessly clean and stretching endlessly. The streets were wide and straight, lined with rows upon rows of shops, the sounds of hawking echoing incessantly. The pedestrians on the street, though not dressed in finery, were all clean and tidy, with ruddy complexions, even carrying a certain scholarly dignity. Just this atmosphere alone was something even the capital couldn't match. The two strolled through the streets and found an inn to stay at. The jovial innkeeper greeted them warmly. "First class room. 5 taels, second class. 3 taels, third class. 1 tael. This is a government-run inn, 20% cheaper than outside fair prices for all." Guo Tianyang was about to lose his temper, but Emperor Jing stopped him. "Let's take the first-class room." He wanted to see what other novelties Taoyuan County had to offer. The attendant led them upstairs and first poured 2 cups of clear tea. Emperor Jing picked up his cup, observing the pale yellow brew, crystal clear, with a delicate fragrance. It was completely different from the strong, deep tea of the capital. He took a sip, feeling refreshed and at ease. The attendant said if they needed anything, just tug the red rope by the door, then withdrew, closing the door behind him. Emperor Jing was studying the white linen wall covering when he suddenly heard Guo Tianyang exclaim from the inner room, "Ah, Your Majesty, there's a well in this room." Emperor Jing walked briskly in. He saw Guo Tianyang crouching over a porcelain commode, marveling at the water inside. He even cupped a handful and drank it, praising, "Refreshing and sweet, excellent water." Then he pulled the red rope and called the attendant. Pointing at the commode, he asked, "Why is this well so small?" The attendant explained expertly, "Honored sirs, this is not a well, it's a chamber pot, also called a commode." Guo Tianyang's face instantly shifted from white to red, then to green. He glanced at Emperor Jing's murderous gaze, then turned around and leaned over the toilet to retch. The attendant continued explaining, saying this toilet was connected to a water tank, and pulling the rope would flush away the waste. The city was filled with water towers. Every day, someone replenished the water, and all the pipes led to low-lying areas outside the city. Water carts also transported the waste away. Where to? The neighboring county. Emperor Jing's mouth twitched. As for the toilet sticks, those were long abandoned in our county. This rule was personally set by our county magistrate, who deemed toilet sticks unhygienic. The attendant pulled out a stack of white paper from a hidden compartment. "Use this toilet paper instead. Toss it in the wastebasket after use. And this water gun contains salt water. Our county magistrate said only salt water can clean properly. White paper to wipe, salt water to wash." Emperor Jing felt a dizzy spell. He saw the neatly stacked white paper in the hidden compartment, the toothbrush beside the towel on the table, and the smooth, clear mirror on the wall. Standing before the mirror, he looked at his own face with graying temples and let out a bitter laugh. That night, Emperor Jing tossed and turned on the soft bed padded with 12 layers of cushions. A 7th-ranked county magistrate had turned a poor county into such a thriving place, yet such a great talent was willing to hide deep in the mountains. Why? The next morning, the two went out to continue their stroll. The street was bustling with activity. Passing by a tea stall, the owner was singing at the top of his lungs, "You love me, I love you. Taiyuan milk tea, sweet and true." Guotianyang looked disgusted and couldn't help spitting. From out of nowhere, an old woman with a red armband suddenly appeared, spreading her 5 fingers. Spitting on the ground, "Fine 5 coppers." Guotianyang's face turned green. Emperor Jing paid the fine and called out to the old woman, asking, "Old madam, why are there no beggars in Taoyuan County?" The old woman laughed. "Our county magistrate is kind-hearted. He can't stand seeing the poor, so they're all taken away to dig ditches." Emperor Jing's mouth twitched violently. He was about to say something when suddenly someone on the street shouted, "There's a court case. Hurry and watch the excitement." The old woman bolted at once, curious to see how the Taoyuan County magistrate would handle a case. Emperor Jing quickly followed. When they arrived at the county yamen, Emperor Jing and Guotianyang were stunned again. The yamen covered at least 20 mu, with a stone archway in front bearing the inscription Taoyuan County Yamen, and behind it a wide flagstone square. Further up, a long staircase led to a 3-story gray-white building. The entire structure was stern and imposing. Standing at the foot of the stairs, one felt a sense of oppression wash over. It was well known that officials did not renovate their yamens as a general rule. But this county yamen was even more grand than the 6 ministries in the capital. Guotianyang's mouth fell open. How much money did this cost? Emperor Jing cast a deep glance at the stone archway and strode into the main hall. The interior was fairly orderly. Above hung a plaque inscribed with "Hanging High, Mirror Bright." On both sides, yamen runners stood at attention, holding water fire clubs. Commoners had already gathered outside the railing, waiting for the magistrate to hold court. At this moment, in the backyard of the yamen, I was sprawled on a reclining chair, chewing dried fruit and muttering indistinctly, "Little Peach, your technique isn't as good as the girls at Snow Moon Pavilion." The maid Little Peach rolled her eyes and shoved me hard. "Then go to Snow Moon Pavilion." I was about to get up, but she pressed me back down and kneaded fiercely with both hands. I winced and said, "Yes, yes, yes, keep that pressure, hold it." Zhang Biao barged in again, "Young master, those 2 porcelain merchants still haven't made any moves. Should we bring them directly?" I waved my hand. "What's the rush? You're used to acting like a thief. We need to professionalize. With my achievements, I could be promoted any time. If I offend someone up there, I might be taken away." "What? Are you hoping I'll leave?" Zhang Biao gritted his teeth and slapped his chest, saying, "Rest assured, young master, no one can take you away. You'll die in Taoyuan County. Get lost." I cursed with a laugh. A runner hurried in to report, "Your Honor, someone has come to file a complaint. They are waiting in the hall." I grumbled as I stood up. "It's not even past noon, and someone's already here to complain? Can't a man get some sleep?" Xiao Tao brought my official robe and helped me put it on, tying the sash as she said, "Eat beef? Beef again? I'm sick of it. Is there nothing new?" Xiao Tao shot me a glare and turned to the kitchen. I finished dressing, patted my sleeves, perked up, and strode toward the main hall. "Let's go. Court is in session." Zhang Laolu knelt on the ground, weeping and sobbing. Hearing the crowd around him growing louder, he cried even more vigorously. Then he suddenly heard the cheers of the people and quickly lifted his head, only to see Fang Jingyi already seated behind the magistrate's desk. Zhang Lao's face lit up with joy. Then he quickly lowered his head and continued weeping, saying, "Your Honor, I am wronged. Today I want to sue the county office." Before he could finish his words, Fang Jingyi was furious. "Suing the county office? How dare you? I haven't disciplined you bunch of riffraff for a few days, and now you dare to pull such a stunt on me?" He slammed the gavel hard. "Hey, who dares to accuse me in this court?" The surrounding crowd burst into laughter. Slap, slap, slap. He rapped the gavel several times. "Silence, silence. Anyone who makes noise again will be dragged in and given 10 strokes of the rod." The whole venue fell silent. Some children in the crowd were muffled by adults covering their mouths. Emperor Jing frowned as he watched this farcical scene. His heart was filled with disappointment. So this is the magistrate of Taoyuan. He looks like a complete incompetent. Can't even stand or sit properly. And he looks half asleep. How does a man like this command such authority? Guotianyang leaned close and whispered in his ear, "Your Majesty, see how arrogant and unreasonable he is. Shut up. Just watch. Zhang Laolu knelt there, stammering. Your subject, Zhang Laolu. I'm not suing you, sir. I want to sue the county constable, Liu Fa. Fang Jingyi's face reddened with embarrassment. All right. Next time, don't pause like that. Now speak. What are you suing Liu Fa for? Reporting to you, sir, I run a tavern in the north of town. Liu Fa has eaten there many times without paying. He also smashed 2 jars of my best wine. The mediator tried several times, but he still won't pay. In total, he owes 17 taels and 2 chien of silver. He hasn't repaid it yet. I had no choice but to trouble you, sir. Fang Jingyi's expression softened. Such a trivial matter, as small as a sesame seed or a mung bean. As long as there's no murder, it's nothing serious. The person standing beside Zhang Laolu was none other than Liu Fa. Fang Jingyi recognized him, of course. He barked sternly, Liu Fa. Do you owe money and refuse to repay? Seeing Fang Jingyi's anger, there's no use hiding it. Liu Fa fell to his knees with a thud and wailed. Master, I really have no money left. Smashing old Zhang's wine was because I drank too much that day and was in a bad mood. I wasn't intentionally avoiding him. I still owe the gambling house 10 taels of silver. Fang Jingyi was truly furious upon hearing this. He sneered, what a Liu Fa. You should be called Ru Fa instead. I have repeatedly ordered that government officials are not allowed in gambling houses, and they must not harass the common people. You haven't taken a single word to heart. Guards, administer 20 strokes of the rod first. Before the guards could step forward, Liu Fa gritted his teeth, then lifted his clothes and bit down on them. He obediently lay flat on the ground. Thump, thump, thump. After the 20 strokes were finished, Liu Fa's buttocks were a bloody mess. He spoke weakly. Your Honor, this lowly one knows his mistake. Emperor Jing watched the scene in astonishment. The county magistrate's authority had clearly reached its peak. The defendant showed not a trace of resistance. Moreover, the law was strictly enforced. It was truly the first time he had seen a case judged like this. Guo Tianyong also watched with bewilderment. Even among his own descendants, such obedience was rare. This magistrate really had some skills. He himself ought to learn from this. Seeing the punishment carried out, Fang Zheng said calmly, considering this is your first offense, your monthly salary will be halved. Go sweep the streets as community service for 3 months before returning. If you offend again, you will be banished from Taoyuan County. A faint smile appeared on Liu Fa's pale lips. Thank you for your leniency, Your Honor. Guards, take him to the medical clinic. Zhang Laolu felt a lingering fear at his miserable state, though they had fallen out. But Taoyuan County was only so big. They were still half neighbors. Was it really necessary to beat him so badly? The key was he hadn't gotten his money back. So he stammered, Master, my money. Fang Jingyi spread his hands in a helpless gesture. You see, he has no money. Ah, Zhang Laolu was dumbfounded. He offended someone and still hasn't gotten his money back. This loss is huge. Zhang Laolu was heartbroken. He began to put on a look as if his father had died. Fang Zheng squinted his eyes, sighed, and said, However, I, as an official, can't let a good person suffer a loss. In that case, what's the name of your restaurant? Tonight, I'll go to your place and drink 3 cups as a penalty. That's settled. Court dismissed. It's called Old Six Restaurant. Zhang Laolu was overjoyed. He kowtowed 3 times. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. After saying that, he ran out of the courtroom like a streak of lightning. Wei, woo. Before leaving, Fang Zheng glanced at the 2 from Jingdi outside the hall. Although Taoyuan County has many people, after so many years, he could basically recognize most of the faces. The regular merchants had already established stable contacts, and Taoyuan County basically had no strangers coming in, so these 2 were undoubtedly new away from home merchants who had just entered the city. The crowd slowly dispersed. Emperor Jing and Guo Tianyong stood there, completely dumbfounded. That's it. What has happened? I don't get it. This case was judged without any logic at all. Are all the people in Taoyuan County crazy? Guo Tianyong pondered for a long time, but couldn't make any sense of it. Bewildered, he said, Master, I feel like there's something eerie about all this. Why don't we be straightforward and ask that magistrate directly? Emperor Jing lowered his head in thought. Not so fast. Let's observe a bit more. Didn't he say he was going to drink at Old Six Tavern tonight? We'll go too. The two left the yamen and wandered around the streets for a good while. Seeing so many things, Emperor Jing was afraid of missing anything. He had Guotianyang take out paper and brush and start jotting down notes along the way. Before they knew it, it was already the hour of 7 p.m. The two happened to arrive at the north of the city. They began asking for directions to Old Six Tavern. With directions from passers-by, he found it without much trouble. It wasn't time for the dinner rush yet. However, the crowd outside Old 6's restaurant was already considerable, noticeably larger than at other shops. Emperor Jing looked up and was immediately speechless. A huge red banner hung on the second floor of the restaurant. Welcome to the county magistrate's visit to sample our new dishes. Braised chicken with Angelica, so that's it. The magistrate was helping Zhang VI drum up business. Quick-witted, as always, Emperor Jing figured it out right away. But Guotianyang started whispering in his ear again. Your Majesty, this man behaves without restraint. How can an official collude with merchants like this? Emperor Jing also felt it was improper. It was truly unseemly for the government to be so entangled with local merchants. Against decorum, let us go. Let us go in and have a look first. By now, Fang Jingyi hadn't arrived yet. The two went straight to the second floor. They found seats near the staircase, ordered 2 portions of wine and food, sat down quietly. Before long, the sounds of commotion drifted up from downstairs. Fang Jingyi, flanked by Zhang Biao and Xiao Tao, leisurely ascended to the second floor. He caught a glimpse of Jing Di sitting by the stairs at once. Then he stepped past the two and sat at the central table. Zhang Laolu said eagerly, Your Honor, the food and drink have long been prepared for you. Shall I serve it now? Fang Jingyi waved his hand. Serve the dishes, but this banner can stay up for at most 3 days. Understand? Zhang Laolu forced a smile. I know the rules. Rest assured, my lord. Wait a moment. Clear everyone on this floor. Send them all downstairs. I don't like being disturbed when I eat. Fang Jingyi said unhurriedly. Then he shot Zhang Biao a glance. Zhang Biao instantly got the hint, rushed to the stairs and shouted. Tonight, all expenses are on Master Fang. The guests on the second floor immediately headed downstairs with delight. Cheering like thunder erupted from downstairs as well. Zhang Laoyu's face beamed with joy. Sure enough, with the county magistrate here, good things happen. This time he made a profit. Then, delighted, he prepared to go downstairs. Looking up, he saw the 2 men, the emperor and his companion, still sitting in their original seats. He said ingratiatingly, Would you 2 gentlemen be so kind as to move to another spot? Today's meal is on our county magistrate. It's free of charge. The emperor sat silently in place. Guotianyang said in a shrill voice, It's not like we can't afford a meal. We don't need anyone else to treat us. Well, Zhang Laoyu's face showed difficulty. Then, gritting his teeth, he lowered his voice and said, You too, if you're willing to dine downstairs. We'll give you an extra jar of wine as a parting gift. Would that be acceptable? The emperor still made no sound, quietly savoring his tea. Guotianyang said gloomily in a low voice, Get lost. Don't ruin our master's enjoyment. Zhang Laolu was at his wit's end. He looked at Fang Jingyi with a pleading gaze. Fang Jingyi, on the other hand, scrutinized the 2 men with a playful look. After a moment, he spoke slowly, Since you're unwilling to leave, would the 2 friends do me the honor of joining me for a meal? Emperor Jing turned his head and smiled slightly. Cup one fist in the other hand, he walked over without ceremony. Guotianyang quickly followed. Zhang Laolu also saw the opportunity and hurried downstairs. Once seated, Fang Jingyi said, You 2 look unfamiliar. Have you just arrived from out of town? After sitting down, Emperor Jing kept sizing up Fang Jingyi, his gaze unabashed. Greetings, County Magistrate Fang. I am Li Long, in a porcelain business in the capital. This is my accountant. Guoda Fang Jingyi felt a bit uncomfortable under his stare, so he said flatly, What business brings you 2 to Taoyuan County? We were originally headed to Hengjiang Prefecture to stock up on goods, passing through this area along the way. Hengjiang Prefecture, Fang Jingyi became alert. Why would you take a detour through Taoyuan County to reach Hengjiang Prefecture? Coming from a capital, wouldn't it be much faster to take the official road directly? But Guotianyang had already prepared his explanation. He interjected, I heard there was a landslide on the official road. The road is blocked. We took a detour to avoid trouble. It was by sheer chance that we ended up in Taoyuan County. Then when will you leave? We're not leaving. We saw so many novel things in Taoyuan County. If we bring them back to the capital, the profits will be immense. We wonder if County Magistrate Fong would agree. Fong Jingyi laughed. Excellent. In Taoyuan County, we welcome nothing more than merchants. To be honest with you, the newly fired ceramic toilets here in Taoyuan County are truly one of a kind. The shapes are complex and the sizes are huge. Such porcelain would be top-notch anywhere. Upon hearing toilets, Guetignan's expression was like he had eaten a fly. However, this item isn't suitable for export. But if you two have custom requests, we can cooperate. We can discuss anything you fancy. Finally, you just need to sign a contract at the county office. So, do you have anything in mind now? Emperor Jing raised his teacup and took a sip. To be honest, it's a bit embarrassing to say, but when I first arrived in this precious place, it was truly astonishing. Everything here has opened my eyes. Take this tea. For example, even the emperor in the palace wouldn't get a taste like this, I'd say. Not in the capital. No, not at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Fong Jingyi suddenly slammed the table and stood up, his face full of indignation. Hold your tongue. Masterly, you must not speak recklessly. How dare you slander the emperor? All within the 4 seas is the king's land. How could his majesty, the emperor, not get to drink such a humble cup of tea? Think back to when his majesty led the imperial expedition in person, sleeping in the open and eating in the wind to bring peace to the world. Now that the 4 seas are settled, his majesty still governs diligently in the court for the sake of the common people, without a single moment of slack. Without his majesty, there would be no Taoyuan County. Without Taoyuan County, there would be no this tea. Yet this mere tea is not even available in the capital. Just thinking about it pains my heart. I wish I could fly over and personally brew a pot of tea for His Majesty. Even His Majesty in the capital couldn't drink this tea. So how could I have the face to drink it anymore? Better to just forget about this tea. His Majesty is wise and enlightened. With that, he poured the tea directly onto the ground. Then, with an air of solemn righteousness, he sat down. Little Tao rolled her eyes behind him. He had used almost the same excuse a few years ago when dealing with merchants from the Qian kingdom. Fong Jingyi even argued that it was to nip trouble in the bud. Set up the patriotic persona first. In case he ever left Taoyuan County one day, he could use it as a safeguard. My patriotic heart, Fong Jingyi is as clear as the sun and the moon. Emperor Jing held his teacup. The corners of his eyes twitched, his hand neither raised nor lowered. He was frozen in place for a moment. Guetianyang was even more dumbfounded. He looked left and right. Who was he talking to? Why did he suddenly start putting on an act? Damn it, good thing Fong Jingyi isn't a eunuch. He could actually flatter someone from afar. At that thought, he glanced at Emperor Jing and softly muttered a line himself. His Majesty is sagacious and enlightened. Fong Jingyi perked up his ears. He said solemnly, Mr. Gua, reverence for the emperor shouldn't just be lip service. You should hold it in your heart at all times like I do. How many in the court praise His Majesty's wisdom to his face, yet behind his back do things that run contrary to his will? Such people are no different from beasts. WTF. It felt like he was taking a dig at me. Eunuch Gua's face quickly darkened. He glanced guiltily at Emperor Jing, then said pitifully, what Magistrate Fong says is true. That's exactly how I feel. Emperor Jing's face gradually grew more cheerful. He had heard plenty of flattery before and was long immune to it. This novel approach was a first. Aside from the awkwardness, there was an unexpected hint of satisfaction. Fong Jingyi suddenly changed the subject. Speaking of this tea, it was specially roasted by the tea masters of Taoyuan County, with a unique flavor all its own. If it were brought to the capital, those nobles and aristocrats would snap it all up in no time. That way, even our emperor can have a taste. I wonder if the two of you are interested in this tea? Guetianyang's face twisted in a grimace. So you're just trying to sell tea, aren't you? Going around in circles. Huh, Mr. Gua, what happened to your face? Nothing. Jing Emperor snapped back to reality, a bit speechless. But he still had to follow the thread of the conversation. This tea is excellent, but what's the price? 10 taels of silver for 1 tael of tea. 10 taels? Guetianyang shuddered. Jing Emperor might not know the market price of this stuff, but he did. In the capital, ordinary tea costs 1 tael of silver per caddy. Even the best tea rarely exceeds 10 taels or so. Of course, a very few rare teas are extremely expensive and scarce. But this tea is clearly just the common tea found everywhere in Taoyuan County. Isn't that a bit pricey? Guo Tianyang hesitated. Is 10 taels expensive? Not all. What's wrong with selling at 10 taels a tea that even the emperor hasn't tried? Seeing their shocked expressions, Fang Jingyi continued to speak eloquently. Come, let me teach you a thing or two about the art of commerce. The cost is 100 taels per caddy. Once you get to the capital, why not sell it for at least 200 taels? Never mind whether anyone buys it or not. First, establish the product's positioning. Say that our tea is grown in the finest prime location, basking in 8 hours of sunlight a day. Every acre is tended by dedicated caretakers. There's a natural hot spring next to the tea plantation. A gold mine lies beneath, and the tea-picking girls are all stunningly beautiful maidens. The kind who are virtuosos in both poetry and painting. They pick the tea leaves with the tips of their tongues, reciting a poem for every leaf plucked. Additionally, it's best to order a batch of exquisite porcelain boxes from this county. Each box holds half a tael of tea leaves. Get a name, let's call it Mini Box Tea for now. When selling, say that only princes and nobles are worthy of drinking this tea. If you don't drink it at court, can you even call yourself a person? Do you still want to mingle in the circle? Do you know what an aristocrat is? An aristocrat buys things. No matter what, they always buy the most expensive, not the best. So our slogan in Taoyuan County is, we don't seek the best, but we seek the most expensive. Eunuch Guo covered his face in shame. He had thought that after decades in the palace, he had seen every trick in the book. But meeting Fang Jingyi today made him realize, when it comes to being a lapdog, you're the real deal. Indeed, the sea of knowledge has no end. Emperor Jing fell silent, feeling as if he had turned into a lush green leek ready to be harvested. Could it be that all the palace procurement had been swindled like this? Seeing the two lost in thought, Fang Jingyi smiled with satisfaction. He had once again spread advanced market principles to the lost lambs. Merit +2. Just as the three of them were silent, dishes began to be continuously passed up to the second floor. To show respect, old Zhang personally carried the dishes upstairs. Ha 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 ha! The chicken soup is here. The chicken soup is on the table. Steam rose in curling wisps. Steam rose in curls. It looks like it's been stewing for a while. The broth is milky, the meat is tender. Here, drink the soup first. The journey must have been arduous for you both. What a wonderful thing it is that you could come to our Taoyuan County and taste this chicken soup. Fang Jingyi first ladled a bowl of chicken soup for Emperor Jing. He scooped out a chicken drumstick. Then he filled a bowl for himself. He scooped out a chicken drumstick. Finally, he filled a bowl for Guo Tianyang. He scooped out a piece of chicken breast. Guo Tianyang shot Fang Jingyi a resentful look. That son of a bitch really treats people differently based on who they are. Fang Jingyi noticed. He didn't take it seriously. After all, the person in front of him was the real VIP. A mere attendant like you, putting on so many airs. Be grateful you even got meat. Speak with such a sarcastic tone. I wonder if you two are interested in this tea. Although the porcelain of our Taoyuan County is fine, it is not something unique under heaven. The profit from selling tea far exceeds that of porcelain, and it's easy to transport. There won't be much loss during transit. Emperor Jing sipped the soup and nodded with satisfaction. The broth was fresh and delicious, the chicken tender and soft. Another delicacy never tasted in the palace. Kind of magistrate Fang, what is this tea called? Fang Jingyi had never really thought about that. The fried tea had only recently become popular in the county. After a moment's thought, Fang Jingyi shamelessly said, this tea, if taken regularly, can strengthen the kidneys, boost vitality, and prolong life. So it's called the Great Immortal Tea. Right, you just made that up on the spot, didn't you? Guo Tianyang's old face was flushed red with embarrassment. To be honest, we didn't bring much silver with us. We probably can't take much tea to sell. How much did you bring? 2,000 taels. As expected of someone in the porcelain business, carrying 2,000 taels on you. That's quite a lot. Fang Jingyi grew slightly excited. No matter, take as much as you want. Early sales also need to open up the market. If it's not enough, you're welcome to come to Taoyuan County anytime for more stock. Come, try some more of our Taoyuan wine. With that, Fang Jingyi poured another cup for each of them. Emperor Jing naturally never refused what was offered. But as soon as the wine touched his lips, his expression suddenly changed dramatically. Peach Blossom Fan, Fang Jingyi said with a chuckle. Indeed, is Peach Blossom Fan wine. This wine is the pillar industry of our Taoyuan County. The county owes its current prosperity entirely to Peach Blossom Fan wine. The next batch hasn't been brewed yet. I imagine right now, it's already nearly impossible to find a cup in the capital. Emperor Jing's face suddenly shifted between light and shadow. Wu Tianyang also glanced over at him. This Peach Blossom Fan wine was famously strong. The great Jing dynasty was vigorous and martial. Men all took pride in their capacity for drink. It had taken the capital by storm. Emperor Jing loved strong liquor and had even designated this wine a tribute item. But the most important issue wasn't the wine itself. Emperor Jing set down his cup. His expression remained as calm as still water. I've heard this wine is the property of the Prince of Wu. Could it be that the Peach Blossom County is backed by the Prince of Wu? No, no. The Peach Blossom Fan has always been an enterprise of Peach Blossom County. It's just that we do have some trade dealings with the Prince of Wu. A few years ago, someone from the Prince of Wu's estate happened to pass by. They discovered this Peach Blossom Fan wine. So we signed an exclusive sales contract. Now the Prince of Wu is raking in money hand over fist. Fang Jingyi was happy to use the prince's name as a banner. He had initially planned to cooperate with the Prince of Wu's people for the tea mint for export. But after much deliberation, he gave up on the idea. The products of Peach Blossom County cannot be controlled by a single party. If the sales channels were to be monopolized, wouldn't that be like having someone grip us by the throat? We must spread the distributor network as wide as possible. The more people from Peach Blossom County are involved, the more secure his position will be. Those in the porcelain business in the capital all have backgrounds. He didn't really care which faction Li Long belonged to. As long as he's not aligned with the Prince of Wu or the Emperor, it's fine. Emperor Jing breathed a sigh of relief. The Prince of Wu was known in the capital as an idle prince. So it was just a coincidence that he got mixed up with Taoyuan County. No wonder he spent money like water every day. I wonder if the Prince of Wu has ever been to Taoyuan County. Fang Jingyi waved his hand. With a look of disdain, never been there. It's always been the steward who comes to trade. This is also the second reason why I don't want to work with the Prince of Wu. This man lacks ambition and has no drive. If it weren't for Taoyuan County being short on money and people early on, I wouldn't have partnered with someone like him. Later, Fang Jingyi even sent people to the capital to scout the market. The sales of the Peach Blossom Fan relied almost entirely on natural traffic. Word of mouth built the market. The Prince of Wu hadn't put in any effort at all. If the Peach Blossom Fan weren't a monopoly product with excellent quality, it probably would have flopped. Back then, I was out of my mind trying to latch onto a patron. Little did I expect to end up with a useless piece of junk. And I even signed an exclusive agreement. This venture of mine has been a total loss. But even so, the Peach Blossom Fan still generates huge profits each year, enough to make the county's people live comfortably. But now life in Taoyuan County is getting better and better, and the people's growing material needs are pushing Fang Jingyi to continue expanding sales channels. This tea is the second key product to sell, and it's definitely not exclusive. I see. Taoyuan County indeed has deep strength. It seems I have no choice but to cooperate with Magistrate Fang. Emperor Jing said with a chuckle. I wonder where the tea garden is. Tomorrow we can go take a look and then decide. Fang Jingyi smiled shyly. Trade secret, no comment. Look my ass. What tea garden? It's all fresh tea bought from Hengjiang Prefecture. Cheap tea leaves. For Jin, for 1 qian. Just stir-fry them with some cheap herbs, and it's done. Outsiders can't tell the difference. It tastes fresh only because they're used to drinking adulterated tea. It's just the first time having this kind of pan-fired tea. Seeing Fang Jingyi's firm attitude, Emperor Jing did not push further. Raising his wine cup, he said, all right then. I'll take a batch of this tea to the capital for a trial sale. In the future, I'll rely on Magistrate Fang's support. That's easy. Here you go. Fang Jingyi then imparted some common business knowledge and tactics to the two. Things like scarcity marketing and brand effect. Although Emperor Jing and his companion were a bit confused, the banquet ended with both host and guests thoroughly enjoying themselves. Old Zhang approached with a beaming smile, squinting his eyes. Magistrate, have you finished your meal? Fang Jingyi held a chicken bone in his mouth, picking his teeth. He nodded slightly. MHM. Not bad, it's quite decent. How much? Settle the bill. That'll be 506 taels in total. I'll round it down to 500 taels for you, Old Zhang said, bowing and scraping. Upon hearing the price, everyone present was shocked. 500 taels? Are we eating silver? Fang Jingyi was so angry he laughed. Well, Old Zhang, you're trying to cheat me, your magistrate? That's quite ambitious. Old Zhang broke out in a cold sweat and quickly knelt down. Your Honor, please let me explain. Earlier, a few children who didn't know the rules came and started shouting outside, saying that we're offering free meals here today. Dozens of people showed up all at once. We had to set tables out on the street, and people are still coming in. I didn't have any other choice. Even at this price, I gave you a discount. My shop ran out of ingredients. I had to borrow from the shop next door. Fang Jingyi laughed at this. These troublemakers of Taoyuan County are getting smarter by the day. Still, 50 taels for dozens of people is too expensive. Old Zhang continued to wail. No way. Those rascals even drank good wine. After too much drink, they wanted cold melon. Watermelon, we rushed to buy them more than a dozen. Fang Jingyi's eyes lit up. So they've managed to grow the cold melons. How much did it cost? Zhang Laolu asked, aggrieved. 10 taels each. Is it ripe for sure? It's ripe. Emperor Jing and Guotianyang were also dumbfounded. 500 taels for a meal is nothing. But it's just early spring. Where did the watermelon come from? It's not summer. Fang Zheng frowned. 10 taels. These little bastards. Selling so expensive, even in our own county. Is the rind made of gold? Or the seeds made of gold? Guotianyang was speechless. So you know it's expensive too? Yeah, that's what I said. The people from the Department of Agriculture told me. Take it or leave it. Where there be melons now? These are greenhouse melons. We think it's expensive. They think it's expensive too. They're selling at cost price. All right, got it. Zhang Biao, pay up. Zhang Biao stepped forward. Prepare to settle the bill, Zhang Biao. Emperor Jing and Guotianyang gasped. Then at the same time, their buttholes tightened. He is Zhang Biao, the one from Fengren Py. Sure enough, he looks quite ordinary. From start to finish, I didn't even notice this person. Thud. Zhang Biao lightly flicked his sleeve. A pouch of silver directly slammed onto the table. Count it. Exactly 500 taels. Emperor Jing and the others' eyes nearly popped out. 500 taels of silver, stuffed into a sleeve? Emperor Jing stammered. Zhang Biao replied nonchalantly. Yeah, our young master always carries 1,000 taels of silver in cash whenever he goes out. There's still 500 left. As he spoke, he raised his right sleeve. Something heavy was hanging down inside it. With arm strength like that, wouldn't he be able to use a weapon weighing hundreds of caddies? Emperor Jing swallowed hard. If this man served in the army, he would definitely be a fierce general. Why not bring banknotes? It's all the same. Carrying silver feels more secure. So that's the reason you carry 1,000 taels of silver on you? Seeing the two of them looking so shocked, Fang Jingyi explained with a smile. You too. This is my subordinate Zhang Biao, styled Hai Wang, the only constable in this county. The foremost warrior, known in the martial world as the Star of Taoyuan. Never mind 1,000 taels of silver. He can toss men around like sandbags. If you run into any ruffians or scoundrels, you can come to him. Emperor Jing was impressed and cupped his hands to him. Impressive, impressive. Zhang Haiwang is indeed a brave man. Zhang Biao puffed out his chest with pride. Fang Jingyi said, well then, I won't see you two out. If you decide to come to the county office tomorrow, you can find me directly. That evening, Emperor Jing and the other returned to the inn. Emperor Jing sat at the table, while Wu Tianyang stood at attention by his side. The candle flame on the table flickered unsteadily, and Emperor Jing's expression was inscrutable. After pondering for a long time, Emperor Jing spoke. Prepare the silver notes. Tomorrow we go to the Yamen and sign the contract with him. I am becoming more and more curious about this magistrate Fang. Wu Tianyang said, Your Majesty. Then, are we still going to Hengjiang Prefecture? No, we've already gained a lot. We've delayed here too long. The Crown Prince is acting as regent. The officials must be anxious. Then Emperor Jing let out a long sigh. Unexpectedly, that Fang Jingyi, barely over 20 years old, has managed a whole county so well. Thinking of the Crown Prince gives me a headache. He is far inferior, said Guotianyang. Your Majesty, Although Fang Jingyi's actions are unconventional. As a county magistrate, he actually engages in business himself. Is that not inappropriate? Extraordinary people do extraordinary things. He has achieved such results that he shames all officials under heaven. In just a couple of days, my horizons have been greatly broadened. Yet there are still many confusions. What is a greenhouse? This Fang Jingyi is truly interesting. Gui Tianyang said, unconvinced. Your Majesty, I think he merely excels at cunning tricks and novelties. Who would pour manure water into someone else's house? And he tricked nobles from the capital into buying ordinary tea. At the dinner table, he was still sweet-talking His Majesty to sell tea. Emperor Jing interrupted him, a hint of displeasure on his face. Enough. If such clever tricks can make the people prosperous, then it's fine. If you had even 1/3 of his ability, I wouldn't have such a headache. When you return, remember to look into Fang Jingyi's information. And why have inspection officials over the years never reported anything about Taoyuan County? Wu Tianyang pouted. He had been running around. Not only did he get nothing good out of it, but he ended up being full of accusations. So he said aggrievedly, Your Majesty is wise. Humph, just parroting. Wu Tianyang. The next morning, Fang Jingyi was woken up by Xiao Tao. Bleary-eyed, he waited for Xiao Tao to help him dress. Mumbling, what time is it? Why did you wake me up? It's noon. Those 2 merchants from the capital are waiting outside to see you. Xiao Tao skillfully helped him put on his official robe. A cold, wet towel was pressed onto his face. Fang Jingyi jolted awake all of a sudden. Much more alert now. He sighed, I haven't slept well for several days. Couldn't you be a little gentler? Xiao Tao said nothing, just looked at him helplessly. Fang Jingyi slept at least 6 hours a day, or rather, 6 2-hour periods. She couldn't understand, wasn't he tired from sleeping so long? If you lie down any longer, you'll get bed sores. Fang Jingyi felt bitter inside. With no entertainment, what else is there to do besides sleep? Who can understand the pain in my heart? After changing clothes, Fang Jingyi staggered out of the bedroom. For convenience, his entire living quarters had been built in the backyard of the government office. At the same time, the office had undergone some renovations to adapt to the various new models in Taoyuan County. There was a reception room, a mediation room, a document room, and so on, roughly resembling a modern government institution. At that moment, Emperor Jing and his companion were in a room that Fang Jingyi had set up separately when he rebuilt the office. This room was in a secluded location, with excellent soundproofing. Inside, there was only a long table, a few chairs, and a few cabinets. The room had no windows, and oil lamps were lit all around. On the wall facing the door, a line of poetry was engraved. Fierce-browed, I coolly defy 1,000 pointing fingers. Head bowed, like a willing ox, I serve the children. On the table below sat a bizarre device, a giant horn with a needle attached to its tail. Below it corresponded a crank and a copper pillar. Its purpose unknown. The room as a whole conveyed a sense of simplicity, yet not simplicity. Emperor Jing clasped his hands behind his back, gazing at the poem on the wall, fell silent for a moment. Not long after, Fang Zhengyi brought Zhang Biao into the room, greeted the two of them. Emperor Jing slowly turned around, said, County Magistrate Fang, did you compose this poem? No, I found it in fragments of ancient texts. Since it was well written, I had it engraved on this wall. After all, Master Fang is a man of refinement. He wouldn't stoop to plagiarizing poetry. Emperor Jing sighed. What a fine poem. It's truly a pity I couldn't see the full text. Oh, I didn't realize. You're also a patriotic merchant. Fang Jingyi pondered inwardly. But he said aloud, since the two of you have decided to order the tea. Emperor Jing nodded. I'm grateful for County Magistrate Fang's care. I hope we can cooperate smoothly in the future. This tea should also find a market in the capital. After the transaction is completed, we will return to the capital immediately. Guida, fetch the banknotes. Gu Tianyang took out the banknotes and placed them before Fang Jingyi. County Magistrate Fang, where should we pick up the tea? Hee, I've already prepared it for you. Zhang Biao. Zhang Biao stepped forward. He untied a bundle from his back. Inside were exactly 20 tea bricks and an iron token. Here are 20 tea bricks. Each weighs 1 caddy. Please inspect the goods. And this peach blossom emblem. Next time you come, remember to stick it on your carriage. It will ensure you have smooth passage in Taoyuan County. When you come to restock, someone will find you. No need to see me. Fang Jingyi said, handing over 2 sheets of paper. Emperor Jing took them. One was a cooperation contract with Taoyuan County. The other was a confidentiality agreement. After careful study, Emperor Jing felt the contract had no issues. The content was largely consistent with what had been discussed over drinks. However, the confidentiality agreement had some problems. So he spoke up. Magistrate Fang, why can't Taoyuan County be mentioned to outsiders? Fang Jingyi smiled faintly. It's nothing. This is just a temporary confidentiality agreement. My Taoyuan County has a small population, limited land, and scarce resources. Yet its specialty products are particularly sought after. With insufficient production capacity, we had to resort to this. Secondly, it's to protect your interests. Currently, you have exclusive rights to sell Taoyuan County's tea. Moreover, an influx of outsiders might harm local public order. The people of Taoyuan County are honest and simple. I'm afraid they might be led astray. Then this clause below, those who break the oath will develop mouth sores, limp limbs, and cold sweats. Dizziness, #@ could be drowned in the spit of Taoyuan County's folks be changed? No. All rights of final interpretation belong to Taoyuan County. What does that mean? Literal meaning. Emperor Jing wiped cold sweat from his brow. This is a shady contract. He didn't care about those curses of secrecy. But what the hell is this right of final interpretation? After a moment's thought, Emperor Jing gritted his teeth and pressed a red thumbprint on it. Anyway, he was using a fake name. He signed it. Guo Tianyang watched with a grin from ear to ear. Even his look at Fang Jingyi carried a hint of mutual admiration. Truly a perfect candidate for a eunuch. Devours people without spitting out the bones. Seeing Emperor Jing had pressed his thumbprint, Fang Jingyi picked up the contract and glanced at it with satisfaction. I'll trouble you two to read this contract once more. Zhang Biao, prepare it. Zhang Biao walked around Emperor Jing, skillfully pulled out a roll of silver foil from the cabinet behind. Then he walked over to the horn and turned the crank a few times. He pasted the silver foil onto the copper cylinder. Magistrate Fang, what does this mean? Fang Jingyi warmly took Emperor Jing's hand and led him to the horn. Come, you two, follow me. Please speak into this horn and read the content above exactly as it is. To be honest, this is a special custom of my Taoyuan County. Speaking into this object proves the sincerity of the partners. Don't worry, it's just a small ritual. In a moment, I'll count 1, 2, 3, and you can start speaking. Emperor Jing's head was now full of question marks again. But since his fingerprint was already stamped, he figured he might as well just speak. After Fang Jingyi finished counting 1, 2, 3, Emperor Jing picked up the confidentiality agreement and began to read it aloud. At the same time, Zhang Biao started turning the crank. Emperor Jing read while observing. He noticed that as he spoke, the fine needle at the tail of the horn kept piercing the silver foil, leaving a dense array of tiny dots. A short while later, about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea passed. Both of them finished reading. Zhang Biao took the silver foil, turned around, and walked out of the room. Emperor Jing's heart itched like a cat scratching, desperately wanting to know what exactly that silver foil was. But unfortunately, Fang Jingyi didn't give him that chance. After finishing the recitation, he directly drove them away. After the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Emperor Jing and Guo Tianyang stood outside the Yamen gate, staring blankly at each other, both at a loss for words. Suddenly, a carriage came to a halt behind them. The coachman enthusiastically shouted at the two. Are you two gentlemen planning to take a carriage back to the capital? I was ordered by the county magistrate to escort you two gentlemen. He's still somewhat decent. Emperor Jing felt a bit relieved. Guo Tianyang was also somewhat pleased. Unexpectedly, Fang Jingyi was quite thoughtful. He even arranged a carriage. It saved him a lot of trouble. So the two boarded the carriage directly, preparing to return to the capital as soon as they sat down. The coachman poked his head in from outside, flatteringly said, You two gentlemen, the total cost is 10 taels of silver. Guo Tianyang, Emperor Jing. On the way back, a continuous drizzle began to fall from the sky. After leaving the bounds of Taoyuan County, the road to the capital became exceedingly muddy. The carriage carrying Emperor Jing got stuck in the mud several times. Guo Tianyang could only climb down and push the cart alongside the driver. It was an utterly miserable experience. Yet, after finally struggling into the outskirts of the capital, Emperor Jing grew even more frustrated. The area was teeming with all sorts of people, with carts and horses running wild, a scene of utter chaos. Their carriage kept getting stuck in traffic jams. The driver constantly argued with those ahead. Seated inside the carriage, Emperor Jing's mood grew increasingly irritable. Guitianyang kept his head down, not daring to speak. Suddenly, the carriage shook violently. Then came a driver's scream from outside. Guitianyang quickly leaned out to investigate. He saw that the carriage had sunk into a mud pit. The driver, losing his grip, had fallen off the carriage. Half his body was submerged in the muddy pit. Holding his forehead, he kept complaining. "This damn place, I should have just stayed in the county." The surrounding gang of ragged loafers, seeing his miserable state, burst into loud laughter. Guitianyang frowned and hurriedly urged the driver to get up and continue on the way. This place was not like Taoyuan County. The order was extremely poor, and it was a mix of good and bad people. The driver agreed verbally, struggling a few times in the muddy pit. Maybe he had injured his bones from a fall. He just couldn't get up, and the laughter around grew louder. Guitianyang had no choice but to suppress his irritation and get off the carriage to help the driver. Back on the carriage, just as they were about to resume the journey, Emperor Jing suddenly spoke up. "No need to take the carriage, let's walk back." "Sir, it's still raining outside. You mustn't get wet." Emperor Jing pointed outside, said, "Will riding be faster than walking? You see all these potholes on the road. Each step forward is a step into a trap. I'm afraid we won't be able to return until tomorrow. Driver, you may go back now." With that, he ordered Guitianyang to hand over 20 taels of silver. The coachman was overjoyed and, after expressing endless gratitude, drove off quickly. Guitianyang said nothing. Watching the carriage grow distant, he suddenly felt a pang of nostalgia for Taoyuan County. How did they manage to build roads like that? Why was their city so clean? As the heart of Jing country, the capital city could afford to be this shabby? Ahead, the inner city was not far off. Yet the road still twisted and turned. Wastewater flowed everywhere, and the common folk were far too casual about it. Some garbage and excrement were simply dumped at their doorsteps. The rainwater spread it all around. A few children playing in the rain didn't seem to mind. They chased and frolicked in the filthy water. Scooping up handfuls, they splashed each other without a care. The air was thick with an unbearable stench. Emperor Jing gazed at the inner city not far away. His eyes were filled with deep anxiety. Letting out a long sigh, "I had originally thought that after unifying the realm and implementing benevolent governance, with light corvée labor, the people's lives would naturally become prosperous. Now it seems I oversimplified things. I never expected that I would be far inferior to a mere county magistrate. Ridiculous, truly ridiculous." Guitianyang quickly consoled him. "Your Majesty possesses the entire realm. How could a single small county compare?" Emperor Jing did not respond. After looking around for a moment, he lifted his leg and walked toward the inner city. After walking for a quarter of an hour, the two finally entered the inner city. By now, Emperor Jing's entire body was soaked through, and his boots were covered in mud. Guitianyang followed behind, panting heavily, especially since he was still carrying 20 jin of tea leaves. Emperor Jing had often been among the military, so he had excellent stamina and walked quickly. Guitianyang was exhausted and panting, barely keeping up. Along the way, he kept cursing the miserable conditions in his heart. Only after entering the inner city did he finally breathe a sigh of relief. He hurriedly said to Emperor Jing, "Your Majesty, there is a base of the imperial guards near here in the inner city. I'll go arrange for a carriage. The road ahead will be easier." Emperor Jing nodded and looked around. Although the road surface had been leveled quite a bit, it still looked muddy, and the foul smell still lingered in the air. Looking at the mess before him, Emperor Jing fell into thought again. At this moment, Chief Grand Secretary Li Yinsong was reviewing memorials. The other Grand Secretaries were each attending to their duties. They were continuously reviewing matters of law, finance, and grain. Just then, a minor clerk rushed into the Grand Secretariat's office, looking very urgent. He pulled out a red paper envelope from his waist. "Lord Li, there's news about His Majesty." The officials in the office looked up in astonishment. Li Yinsong stopped writing, quickly stood up, took the envelope, and read it. Then he looked up and said joyfully, "Gentlemen, His Majesty has returned to the palace." Grand Secretaries Zheng Qiao and Zhang Dongxiang were overjoyed upon hearing this. The emperor has finally returned. He left a letter and secretly departed the palace. The crown prince is acting as regent but ignores state affairs. These days are finally coming to an end, and much sooner than expected. Li Yensong said to the minor official, "Quickly send word that the messengers to Hengjiang Prefecture can return." The minor official nodded in agreement, turned around, and ran out again. Li Yensong said with delight, "Gentlemen, I'm going to see the emperor. Anyone coming along?" Zheng Xiao and Zhang Dongxiang quickly nodded. "Let's go together." The three of them hurriedly rushed to the imperial study. Gui Tianyang was already waiting at the door. "Please come in, the three of you. His Majesty has been waiting for a long time." Li Yensong and the other two exchanged glances. Then they said to Gui Tianyang, "Thank you, eunuch Gua." They then went straight into the imperial study. Inside the imperial study, the memorials on Emperor Jing's desk were piled up like a mountain. Li Yensong and the others had initially come with a hint of reproach. Seeing this sight, they were momentarily speechless. In the end, Li Yensong spoke first. "Your Majesty, why did you leave without saying goodbye?" The court officials are frantic with worry. Emperor Jing kept his head down, not looking up. He wrote on the memorial stroke by stroke. "I just wanted to take a walk outside. Gentlemen, take a look at these memorials. How has the crown prince been governing these past few days? And what have the ministers of the court been doing?" Emperor Jing's voice was calm and unhurried. Li Yensong was instantly at a loss for words. He had wanted to continue voicing his complaints, but the mention of the crown prince, Zheng Qiao stammered, "Your Majesty, these past days, the crown prince has never once attended court. Where is he? What has he been up to? As high-ranking ministers, you ought to have managed him." Emperor Jing's voice held a hint of anger. "Your Majesty, it's not that I didn't try. I simply couldn't control him." Zhang Dongxiang's face was grim. One day, it's a headache, the next it's a foot pain. He claimed to be ill every day, but the imperial physician found nothing wrong. In short, he just felt unwell. "We really have no choice." In the few days Your Majesty was away, the crown prince also built a tiger and leopard garden. Besides beast fighting, he spends his days there nursing his illness. And also, Zhang Dongxiang has a quick temper. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became. The other two grand secretaries wanted to pull him back, but couldn't stop him. They could only listen to his constant complaints, breaking out in cold sweat. Emperor Jing's face gradually darkened. So this unfilial son just plays every day and does nothing productive at all. Upon hearing this, Emperor Jing's veins bulged with anger. He wished he could grab a golden mace and hit that unfilial son right on the head. Li Yensong said, "Not exactly." In the past 2 days, he also went to the military camp, saying he was going to inspect military discipline and drill the soldiers. Other than that, nothing. Good. Where's that unfilial son now? Emperor Jing was now furious beyond measure. Originally, as soon as he returned to the palace, his first instinct was to check on the crown prince's movements. But instead, the memorials that had piled up over the past few days were sent directly to the imperial study. Emperor Jing's gloomy mood was largely dispelled by anger, but he could still suppress his anger. Hearing the complaints from the three senior ministers, he could no longer hold back his fury. It must be the newly built tiger and leopard garden in the Easter Palace. Zhang Dongxiang had long found it unbearable. He wished Emperor Jing would discipline the crown prince immediately. So indulged in pleasure-seeking. He does not look like a ruler at all. "All right, my esteemed ministers, you have worked hard. Please return for now. We will discuss other matters tomorrow. Attending Gua, prepare my carriage to the Eastern Palace." Eastern Palace, Tiger and Leopard Garden. In the Tiger and Leopard Garden, a fierce tiger was chasing 2 old horses. The crown prince sat on a chair, watching with great interest. Lu Jin stood behind the crown prince Li Yuanzhao with a worried expression. Originally, the crown prince acting as regent was a great thing, as it could give His Highness a chance to perform. Unexpectedly, the crown prince's first act was to build himself a tiger and leopard garden. Then came days of skipping his duties. As his personal eunuch, he could not escape the blame. But this young master had been headstrong since childhood, showing no interest in state affairs at all, but instead taking great delight in such chaotic matters as warfare and beast baiting. He should never have let his tongue run away with him, telling the crown prince about things like tigers and leopards. If His Majesty found out, The first thing he'd do would be to flay me alive. The more Lu Jin thought about it, the more panicked he became. Gradually, his face turned pale. Down below, the drama of the fierce tiger chasing the horses was nearing its end. One horse had been bitten to death. The other had its belly ripped open by sharp fangs. And the tiger was now tearing into the entrails with great relish. Li Yuanzhao appeared somewhat bored. Lu, my companion, I find these nag horses truly tedious. Why not find another tiger? Two tigers fighting should be far more interesting. Lu Jin wiped a cold sweat from his brow. Your Highness, how many days has it been since you last attended court? Every day, the ministers at the Tiger and Leopard Garden have complaints. It won't be easy to explain to His Majesty when he returns. Li Yuanzhao didn't care at all. So what if they have complaints? The world is at peace. What else is there for me to do? Those cabinet ministers are enough. What a pity I was born a few years too late. Otherwise, now would be the perfect time to gallop across the battlefield. Alas, Li Yuanzhao sighed after saying this. He looked somewhat dejected. Lu Jin was about to speak. Suddenly, he saw Emperor Jing approaching head-on and began trembling. Then he quietly retreated to the wall. Li Yuanzhao continued gloomily. Is playing with words and brushes really something a man should do? A true man like me should be fighting on the battlefield. If I weren't the crown prince, I'd definitely be a top-notch general. It's just a pity that Father Emperor snatched away the credit I deserved. How infuriating if there is Father Emperor. Why must there be me? After speaking, a tear slid from the corner of Li Yuanzhao's eye. He felt a strong sense of unrecognized talent. Lu Jin looked at Emperor Jing, standing behind the crown prince, and felt his scalp nearly explode. This speech of a filial son shocked him so much that his face turned pale. It's over. His short life would end just like Jin down below. Emperor Jing narrowed his eyes, seemingly savoring the words Li Yuanzhao had just spoken. He knew the crown prince was immature. After all, he had watched him grow up. But he never expected him to have such wild ambitions now. He actually dared to say something like, "Why give me a father if you were going to give me a son?" If this got out, the imperial prestige would be utterly lost. Should he hand over the empire he had painstakingly built to such a beast in the future? Emperor Jing felt a deep sense of sorrow. Nevertheless, Emperor Jing still gave a slight smile. He gently placed his hand on Li Yuanzhao's shoulder. Since you like fighting so much, why don't you just jump down there? I think that fierce tiger down below is a fine match. Someone actually dared to pat him. Hearing the familiar voice, Li Yuanzhao's eyes widened. Then he stiffly turned around slowly, forcing a smile onto his face. Father. Father Emperor? You finally returned. Your son has been waiting for so long. Emperor Jing sneered, "Ha. I heard that my son has been unwell for many days. I'm concerned about you, so I came quietly to see. It seems my son is full of energy." Your son, Li Yuanzhao stammered. Sweat the size of soybeans rolled down his forehead. Emperor Jing smiled again. Come. My son, follow me. This place isn't convenient. I can't stretch my limbs here. Come with me to the imperial garden. And that little eunuch by your side should come along too. With that, Emperor Jing slowly walked out of the tiger and leopard garden. Watching Emperor Jing's receding figure, Lu Jin trembled as he shuffled closer, forcing a hard swallow of saliva. In a sorrowful voice, Your Highness, your servant is finished. Your maid now has only one wish. I hope Your Highness can help me keep my body intact. Li Yuanzhao was furious. You blind thing. Why didn't you inform me when the emperor arrived? Lu Jin was still trembling uncontrollably. It's too late. His Majesty came too quickly. Your maid was terrified. I can't go on, Your Highness. Can't stand anymore. Li Yuanzhao's face turned deathly pale. This is it. My short 15-year life ends here. As short as Lu Jin's family jewels. Thinking of the approaching storm, Li Yuanzhao shivered. He kicked Lu Jin, who was sprawled on the ground. Get up. Quickly prepare some padded jackets for me. Bring out my tools. In the imperial garden, Emperor Jing sat expressionlessly in the pavilion. In his left hand, he leaned on a thick, long staff. In his right hand, he held a long whip. Long sticks and long whips were specially ordered from the armory, the most powerful ones in size. Emperor Jing tested them a few times, smashed a stone railing, and snapped a tree branch with a whip. He felt their power was good. His strength was not diminished from his younger days. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Now there was no other way left. He had provided the crown prince with the best teachers under heaven, the best environment, yet in the end, it still produced a crooked fruit. Originally, Emperor Jing had already noticed something, although sometimes the crown prince's behavior was improper. He was lively by nature. He believed that under the tempering of the crown prince's household and several senior ministers of the cabinet, he should have grown. Who would have thought the crown prince had become so depraved? 15 years old. At 15, he himself had personally fought in battles and earned military merits. He gave birth to a son who only knew how to play with cats and tease dogs. He was simply a bedbug, not even worthy of being compared to the toenail of the magistrate of Taoyuan County. A tiger doesn't show its might, and you think I'm a sick cat? In an instant, a fierce glare flashed in Emperor Jing's eyes. A moment later, Li Yuanzhao cautiously arrived at the imperial garden. Lu Jin, following behind, was panting heavily. Emperor Jing slowly lifted his eyes to look and saw that Li Yuanzhao had grown a full circle larger. His entire face wore an innocent expression. This unfilial son was always like this, usually bold and reckless, defying all laws and heaven itself. The moment he heard a punishment, he would put on that pitiful face, as if he were the one suffering great injustice. In the past, his doting on the crown prince always let him slip by with this trick. This time, it was different. As regent, the crown prince actually dared to act so recklessly. If he kept indulging him, wouldn't he turn heaven upside down? Lu Jin was even worse. His legs were shaking wildly. Tears kept swirling in his eyes, as if it would pour out from the eye sockets at any moment. Emperor Jing remained silent at this sight, only staring coldly at the two. Li Yuanzhao forced a sheepish smile, swallowing hard, then lowering his head like that. Lu Jin also knelt on the ground, bowing his head deeply, wishing he could find a crack to crawl into. After a long while, seeing no one still spoke, Li Yuanzhao cautiously lifted his head, only to meet Emperor Jing's murderous gaze head-on. Li Yuanzhao dropped to his knees with a thud and said tremblingly, "Your son deserves death." The entire imperial garden was eerily quiet. Even the chirping of birds had vanished at that moment. Only Lu Jin's heavy breathing could be heard, rising and falling. Li Yuanzhao cursed inwardly. This wretched creature's breathing was so heavy. It was scaring me to death. After another long pause, Emperor Jing finally spoke. Yet there was no expected outburst of rage. Instead, it was somewhat calm. "The crown prince wants to be a general. He also said I stole your military achievements. Then let the two of us have a contest today." With that, he threw the thick stick directly in front of Li Yuanzhao. It bounced a few times after hitting the ground. Li Yuanzhao felt a chill run through his entire body. Beads of sweat as big as beans dripped down. Then he said, tremblingly, "How could your son be a match for your majesty? Your son is still young, still growing." Emperor Jing was stunned, never expecting that his son was not only audacious, but also learned to be shameless. His face immediately darkened. He said coldly, "It seems the crown prince is indeed unwell. Wearing so many clothes in this weather." Li Yuanzhao hurriedly said, Yes. Today your son caught a chill. Feels a bit cold." Emperor Jing immediately swung his whip, producing a sharp crack in the air. At the same time, he barked angrily, "Guards, strip this beast's clothes off for me to see." The guards on both sides hesitated for a moment before stepping forward to start pulling off Li Yuanzhao's clothes. Li Yuanzhao seemed reluctant, but given the Emperor Jing's expression, he began to slowly cooperate with the guards. As soon as the outer layer of clothing was removed, a thick padded jacket was revealed underneath. When the padded jacket was unfastened, there was yet another one inside. Only after taking off 3 or 4 layers did the white undershirt appear. When they reached the last layer, a metal plate clattered to the ground. The Emperor Jing stared in astonishment. Li Yuanzhao hung his head in shame. "And the trousers stripped those off too for me." Li Yuanzhao began taking off his pants unwillingly again. After removing 2 layers, an iron but guard fell out. Then iron knee pads, iron leg guards, watching all the equipment clatter to the floor one after another. Emperor Jing flew into a rage. "You beast! You vile beast! Shirking and slacking, ignorant and unskilled. Do you want to enrage me to death? Since your birth, everything you've eaten, worn, and used has been the best in the world. I have worked hard to conquer the realm so that you may be spared the suffering of war in the future. I do not expect you to become an outstanding emperor. If you can be a ruler who maintains what his predecessors achieved, I will be more than satisfied. I have only you as my son. All my hopes rest on you. But now, where has all your reading gone? Has it gone into a dog's belly? Now I see clearly. Forget about being a ruler who maintains the legacy. You're not even fit to be a county magistrate. Guards, hang him up. Today, I will teach you how to be a man anew. Originally, Li Yuanzhao was terrified in his heart. But hearing Emperor Jing belittle him so harshly, a rebellious spirit suddenly surged up. He shouted angrily, "Hold on. Father, I am simply not good at studying. When it comes to the art of war and the way of governance without witnessing it firsthand, how could one be inferior to others? If I had been born a few years earlier, conquering the Qin kingdom might not have been left to your majesty. How could your majesty compare me to a mere county magistrate? I'm a man of military and command talent." Emperor Jing laughed in extreme anger. An arrogant beast who doesn't know his place. Continue the hanging. The guards immediately swarmed in and tied Li Yuanzhao up tightly. Then they hung him from a corner of the Imperial Garden Pavilion. Li Yuanzhao, hanging from the pavilion, felt deeply humiliated. His face flushed red. He had never suffered such grievance in his life. Still defiant, he spoke plausibly. "I was born at the wrong time. Born at the wrong time. I am wronged. So unjust." Emperor Jing's forehead veins bulged. He cracked his whip with force, landing a loud slap on Li Yuanzhao's buttocks. The rebelliousness of adolescence was instantly beaten out of him. Li Yuanzhao panicked and begged for mercy. "Father Emperor, I'm still a child." The Jing Emperor said angrily, "Child? A fine child indeed. When I was your age, I was already charging in a battle. I have no child like you. I could too silence." Crack, crack, crack. The Jing Emperor was clearly quite skilled in using the whip. Each strike accurately hit the buttocks. Li Yuanzhao kept wailing loudly. But inwardly, he was secretly delighted. Sure enough, Father Emperor was still using the same old tricks. He never hit anywhere other than the butt. He had put on 2 layers of padding on his buttocks. The one that fell off just now was just for show. Although the whip cracked loudly against his body, it only gave him a slight stinging sensation. Li Yuanzhao performed his act diligently, afraid that the Jing Emperor might see through his ruse. The Emperor gave him more than a dozen lashes in a row. Emperor Jing was panting heavily, but much of the anger in his heart had subsided. Seeing the crown prince spinning around, still howling in a hoarse voice, his heart suddenly softened. He casually tossed the whip aside and instructed his attendants, "Keep an eye on him. Don't let him down before noon tomorrow." Then he turned to leave. Just as he was about to walk away, suddenly, the hanging Li Yuanzhao spun around, his buttocks facing Emperor Jing. Emperor Jing's pupils constricted. A small tear had already split open the single-layer pants on his buttocks, and the color of metal was revealed inside. The anger that had just subsided in Emperor Jing immediately flared up again. "Li Yuanzhao, fine, just fine. Strip him bare for me. Completely naked. I will whip you to death today." Li Yuanzhao, immersed in his act, became alert upon hearing Emperor Jing's rage. Realizing that his trick had been exposed, panicked like crazy, he quickly begged for mercy. "Father, you've already beaten me. Your son was wrong. I won't dare again. Please spare your son this once. I was wrong. You were wrong. No, it was I who was wrong. I should never have fathered you." With that, Emperor Jing picked up the whip and prepared to strike again. Just as he was about to let loose and swing, Guo Tianyang trotted all the way into the Imperial Garden. He glanced at the Crown Prince and quickly said to Emperor Jing, "Your Majesty, the files on Fang Jingyi have been thoroughly investigated." At the mention of Fang Jingyi, Emperor Jing's attention was diverted. He dropped the whip again. "Put this beast's clothes back on. Hang him up and await punishment." With that, he turned and left the Imperial Garden with Guo Tianyang. Li Yuanzhao secretly counted his blessings. Without a long breath, Lu Jin, kneeling nearby, saw the emperor leave, immediately collapsed to the ground. A puddle spread beneath him. "Inside the Qinqing Palace, Your Majesty. It has now been confirmed that Fang Jingyi was a third-rank jinshi in the 3rd year of the Jing reign. His parents passed away when he was only 15 years old. He was originally supposed to be assigned as a county magistrate in the capital region, or enter the palace, but because of his fiery temper, he offended his superiors. And it just so happened that the magistrate of Taoyuan County had died of illness, so he was directly assigned to Taoyuan County. The population under Taoyuan County jurisdiction is no more than 2,000 people. It is extremely impoverished, and almost no taxes are paid each year. According to the reports submitted last year, the situation remains the same. Moreover, the population under its jurisdiction still does not exceed 2,000. Your old servant has already sent a fast horse to find the inspecting official of Hengjiang Prefecture. It should take a few more days for him to arrive in the capital. Gui Tianyang finished his report, put away the documents in his hand, and then cautiously glanced at Emperor Jing. This Taoyuan County magistrate is truly audacious. How dare he conceal the truth from above? And he has never paid taxes. Taoyuan County is located between the capital region and Hengjiang Prefecture. At such a close distance, he managed to keep it hidden for so long. Wondering what was behind this, Emperor Jing's expression remained calm, but his fingers kept tapping the table. After a moment, he suddenly laughed. How interesting. This magistrate of Taoyuan is still a young hero. He became a jinshi at the age of 15. If not for the war, how could I have forgotten such talent? In 7 years, he turned a destitute small county into this. Impressive. The population of Taoyuan County now is nowhere near just 2,000. I'm afraid it's tens of thousands or more. Gui Tianyang bowed and asked, Your Majesty, how should we handle Fang Jingyi? No rush. Let me observe a bit more. This man has a peculiar temperament. He needs to be properly tempered. If used well, he will become a pillar of state in the future. With such a capable man by the Crown Prince's side, I can rest easy. Noticing the mention of the Crown Prince, Gui Tianyang quickly said, Your Majesty, the Crown Prince is still hanging in the imperial garden. Should we let him down? Speaking of the Crown Prince, Emperor Jing's brow furrowed again. Let him down? Forget it for now. Leave that beast alone. Others at 15 can pass the imperial examination. And him? All he knows is fiddling with useless things. Send someone to tear down his tiger and leopard garden and slaughter that stupid creature for me. Also, the tea I bought earlier needs to be dealt with. Send someone to set up a shop in the inner city. Sell tea, just as Fang Jingyi said. Order a batch of exquisite jars. Put the tea in the jars. This matter is entrusted to you personally to oversee. Do not leak it. If you fail, I will hold you accountable. Gui Tianyang was stunned. The emperor personally engaging in business. This does not conform to the rights and laws. And if the ministers find out, it will cause an uproar. Your Majesty has been bewitched by Fang Jingyi. Thus, Gui Tianyang stammered, Your Majesty, this is not quite appropriate. What if other ministers see this old servant? Emperor Jing waved his hand grandly. Go ahead without worry, this tea was purchased from my privy purse. Can I not have the right to spend as I see fit? Your Majesty, but doing business. Gui Tianyang still had concerns. After all, this matter is too unconventional. Emperor Jing leaned back in his chair and sighed. Indeed, ancestral laws and rights must not be broken. But our great Jing has been established for over 200 years. Following the same old system all along, who knows when decline will follow if we continue like this? If I stick to the old ways, what will become of great Jing 100 years from now? By then, I will have passed or be too old and feeble. Can Yuan Zhao alone still hold the realm together? Ancestral laws indeed have their reasons, but when it comes to me, it is time for change. Taoyuan County has given me some inspiration. Perhaps I can try making some changes first. Governing a great state is like cooking a small fish. Taoyuan County can turn things around. Can our Jing Kingdom also work miracles like Taoyuan, even if it's just a few new changes? A door hinge never gets worm-eaten, flowing water never goes stale. Companion Gua, go ahead and do it. Just as Fang Jingyi said during the meal earlier. Take money from the rich and split it with the common people on a 30-70 basis. There are too many wealthy merchants and nobles in our Jing Kingdom. They hide their silver at home, or bury it in graves, but never give it to the people. They can't even build a proper road. It's time to think of a way to deal with them. Gui Tianyang remained silent. The war had just ended in recent years. The state treasury was empty. His Majesty must have been provoked. He was preparing to reach out to those nobles and wealthy merchants. However, as the emperor's close eunuch, he was like his right-hand man. Since the emperor had made up his mind, he would devote himself wholeheartedly to getting things done. Yes, your majesty. This old servant will arrange for someone to do it immediately. Emperor Jing looked at the murky tea on the table, pondered for a moment, then spoke. At the morning court tomorrow, remember to brew a pot of Dapin Tianxian tea and present it before the officials. Make sure to brew it strong. As for the rest, you can improvise. I'm quite curious whether Fang Jingyi's method will work. Speaking of which, doing business is a bit like waging war, actually quite interesting. You may go now. I need to review memorials. Guo Tianyang nodded in agreement, then turned around and sucked his teeth in frustration. He felt quite displeased. It had only been a few days since he visited Taoyuan County, yet His Majesty mentioned Fang Jingyi more and more frequently. The methods that kid taught him over drinks His Majesty actually believed them wholeheartedly. And now that His Majesty had spoken, he had to sell the tea using those very methods. Damn ridiculous. Even if His Majesty wanted to do business, selling things like this, who would buy? And it's insanely expensive. Guo Tianyang let out a sigh. In the future, Fang Jingyi is definitely going to enter the palace. Just a few meetings and a few words, and His Majesty already thinks highly of him. He'll surely be a favored minister before the emperor. When that time comes, I'll have to deal with this fellow. But this Fang Jingyi seems to be against me. When eating chicken, he only gave me a piece of chicken breast. Thank goodness this bastard isn't a eunuch. In the future, I must find an opportunity to get on good terms with him. Why haven't you left? What are you standing there dazed for? Emperor Jing's voice came from behind Guo Tianyang. He had been so lost in thought that he forgot to leave. Guo Tianyang quickly said, Your Majesty, your old servant was thinking about how much to sell this tea for. Could it be to sell it at 200 taels per caddy, as Fang Jingyi suggested? Emperor Jing was also taken aback. Then he chuckled softly. He was about to start a business, yet even forgot to set the price. He casually said, 1 tael of tea per jar. Each jar sells for 50 taels. Remember to make the packaging exquisite. Guo Tianyang's aged face twitched twice. He dare not say a word. 500 taels per caddy. Oh my heavens, His Majesty really dares to say that. Even darker than Fang Jingyi. No wonder you're the emperor. Affairs in the palace were handled with great efficiency. Guo Tianyang took only an afternoon to have his men find a good location and decorate the shop. He also obtained dozens of ready-made exquisite porcelain jars. The location was naturally excellent. It was in an area where the wealthy of the capital gathered. The signboard was hung up conspicuously, saving all other complicated procedures. The next morning at court, all officials gathered before the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Guo Tianyang intentionally took a detour in front of the officials, carrying a tray in his hands. On top was a pot of clear tea. The lid of the teapot was half open as eunuch Guo approached from afar with quick little steps. The officials exchanged bewildered glances. Eunuch Guo usually appeared together with His Majesty. Why was he passing by the Fengtian Hall today? Guo Tianyang gradually made his way into the crowd. His steps began to slow down. Li Yinsong asked curiously, Eunuch Guo, why are you the only one here today? Where's His Majesty? Guo Tianyang's eyes lit up. Hastily, he brought the tea and approached. Master Li, this old servant went specially to prepare tea for His Majesty. His Majesty will arrive later. Why would you need to specially prepare that? This never happened during previous court sessions. Many began to grow puzzled. At the same time, they caught a fresh and elegant aroma. Their feet unconsciously moved closer. Their eyes couldn't help but fix on the tea in Guo Tianyang's hands. Li Yinsong asked curiously, Eunuch Guo, what kind of tea is this? The brew is clear, and the fragrance lingers long. Why hasn't your Majesty drunk this before? Here it comes, I've been waiting for you to ask. Guo Tianyang's heart leaped with joy. Then he declared loudly, this tea was discovered by His Majesty a few days ago in a tea house in the capital. The flavor of this tea is fresh and elegant. After drinking it, one's spirit is greatly enhanced. It invigorates the body. His Majesty took one sip and immediately liked it. See, all the previous tea has now been replaced with this new one. Hearing this, murmurs gradually arose from the crowd. Indeed, the flavor is quite unusual. Aromatic, indeed aromatic. Hmm? The taste of this tea somewhat resembles the Tusong tea from our Hengjiang prefecture, but it's not quite the same. It does smell good. Eunuch Gua, what is the name of this tea? Gua Tianyang chuckled. This tea is called Dapin Tianxian tea. It is said that regular drinking can prolong life, nourishes the kidneys, and strengthens vitality, known as a treasure for men. Ah, the Dapin Tianxian tea sounds extraordinary just from its name. Huh, I didn't expect Eunuch Gua to understand the treasures of manhood. Ha! Someone chimed in with that remark. The crowd immediately burst into laughter. Damn it! Gua Tianyang's face turned as red as a pig's liver. His eyes darted around among the officials. He desperately wanted to find a bastard who shouted that and tear him to pieces. Even handling a small task came with personal insults. All because of Fang Jingyi he searched but found no trace. Gua Tianyang had no choice but to let it go grudgingly. Gentlemen, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. The wind is picking up, and soon this tea will go cold. If His Majesty finds fault, I won't be able to bear the responsibility. With that, Gua Tianyang turned to leave. Li Yinsong quickly stopped him. He rubbed his hands nervously. He was a bit tempted. A treasure for manhood that strengthens the kidneys and sharpens the mind. Oldie wanted to give it a try too. After all, he was already in his 60s. In recent years, he felt his health deteriorating day by day. While working in the office, besides back and leg pain, he often felt drowsy. He could only drink cold water to refresh himself. He wasn't used to those tea soups with added ingredients. Not to mention the strong taste. He always ended up with a mouthful of dregs. This clear tea smells very fresh. It also invigorates the mind and strengthens the kidneys. With such a treasure for men, I must give it a try no matter what. Eunuch Gua, is this tea really as good as you say? Not at all. It's not me saying it, but His Majesty. If His Majesty says it's good, how could it be false? Gua Tianyang cast a sidelong glance at Li Yinsong. Li Yinsong quickly waved his hand and said, Of course not, of course not. If His Majesty thinks it's good, it can't be bad. Then, where can I buy it? Gua Tianyang smiled faintly. The big fish has taken a bait. If the Grand Secretary sets a good example, the rest will naturally follow suit. There will be no worries about the sales of the tea. Li Yinsong was a veteran official of 2 reigns. His family were also great landowners. Though tea at 500 silver liang per caddy was costly, he could certainly afford to drink it. This tea was purchased from the palace. This old servant no longer remembers where it was originally bought. But I can inquire for you gentlemen. Is there anything else? If not, this old servant will take his leave. Li Yinsong Bua. Gua Tianyang turned around. A smug expression appeared on his face. In the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the ministers stood in their ranks. Emperor Jing sat high on the dragon throne, a teacup in his hand. He kept using the lid to brush aside the floating tea leaves. The officials below stared eagerly as the emperor drank his tea. The fragrance drifted down to them in waves. Many felt their thirst growing, unconsciously licking their lips. Only after finishing his cup of tea did Emperor Jing slowly speak. My dear ministers, I have been away from the capital these past few days. Are there any important matters to bring up for discussion? Minister of Revenue Zhang Shi stepped forward. Your Majesty, I have a memorial to present. It is news that arrived just yesterday. Recently, heavy rains have fallen continuously along the Jian River. 2 dikes have already been breached. Half a month ago, the number of affected victims exceeded 3,000. Food supplies are not a concern. But now the provincial governor and the grand coordinator have specially requested 30,000 taels of silver from the Ministry of Revenue to recruit laborers for disaster relief and dike repairs. However, in the past 2 years, there have been many disaster victims. The Ministry of Revenue's expenditures have already exceeded its budget. If we are to balance other matters, the Ministry of Revenue can spare at most 20,000 taels at present. I seek your Majesty's wise judgment. Emperor Jing closed his eyes and rubbed his brow. Sure enough, as soon as I return, it's the same old troubles. Everywhere these past 2 years, there have been natural disasters and man-made calamities. With the national treasury depleted, the officials below only scheme after my personal coffers. But this money must be spent no matter what. He felt sorry after spending it. After a moment of deliberation, Emperor Jing gritted his teeth. I see. Make up the shortfall of 10,000 taels from my personal treasury. The several senior officials below the steps immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Shi's eyes lit up. He hurriedly said, "Your Majesty is wise." As the Minister of Revenue, he was the one in charge of finances. When it came to headaches, no one had more headaches than him. Now the Ministry of Revenue simply had no money, so he could only seek money from the emperor. He had originally thought it would take several days of back and forth. Unexpectedly, His Majesty directly and cheerfully agreed. It seems that after that trip, there's been a big change. Before, asking for money was always procrastinating. Emperor Jing sneered inwardly. "Spending my money, of course I'm wise. I've scrimped and saved for years to accumulate 20,000 taels in my personal treasury. And now in one breath, I spend half of it. Hopefully that batch of tea can save me some face. Do you gentlemen have any other matters?" The ministers saw that Emperor Jing's expression was somewhat unpleasant. In tacit understanding, no one spoke. Usually, the emperor was in a bad mood at times like this. Saying anything would be pointless. When the emperor saw the silence among the ministers, Emperor Jing spoke. "All right, since none of you have matters to report, then I have something to say. Where is Fan Song, commander of the 5 cities military and horse commission? Your subject is here." Fan Song stepped forward, feeling a bit uneasy. Emperor Jing's expression was stern. "When I returned to the capital, I looked all around. The streets were broken, and sewage flowed everywhere. How have you been managing your duties?" Fan Song looked up in surprise. He quickly explained, "Your Majesty, it might be that the drains are clogged. So there's more standing water on the streets, and the capital is very dusty. When it rains, the streets become muddy. This has always been the case. Every time it rains heavily, I send people to inspect all the drains. It seems something must have gone wrong this time." Hearing his sophistry, Emperor Jing immediately flew into a rage. "Silence. Does always been this way make it right? And you, drawing a salary from the imperial court's coffers. I'll give you 3 months. Repair the streets and dredge the drains. Find the silver yourself. If the city hasn't improved by the 5th month, strip off that official robe yourself." Fan Song was still somewhat bewildered, but seeing the emperor's fury, he instinctively knelt. "Your servant deserves death. I swear the streets will be transformed in 3 months." Emperor Jing nodded expressionlessly. "Good. I'll send someone to inspect. As for the rest of you, my ministers, speak if there's business. If not, the court is adjourned." After the court session, several grand secretaries returned to their offices. Seated at his desk, the most hot-tempered Zhang Dongsheng couldn't hold back and asked, "Lordly, do you think His Majesty has changed after his trip out, giving out silver so readily today? And why has he suddenly started caring about the city streets? Your Majesty already knows full well what this city is like." Li Yinsong lowered his head to review the newly arrived memorials. "Perhaps, since Your Majesty is willing to spend money, it's not a bad thing. But relying on the imperial treasury is not a long-term solution. The state treasury's annual revenue has been insufficient for years. What can be done? Look, another disaster report has arrived. Asking for silver again, Sai. I find it quite a headache as well. Now just seeing these things makes me dizzy. I'm afraid I'll have to retire in a few years." Zhang Xiao, upon hearing this, instead chuckled. "Lordly, you must not speak carelessly like that. You're the pillar of the state. The Grand Secretariat cannot do without you. Isn't Your Majesty drinking that man's treasure? I'll go ask His Majesty for some for you." At the mention of man's treasure, Zhang Dongxiang also became interested. "This tea is quite interesting. Why don't we send someone to inquire? Go to the city and buy more. Perhaps after drinking it, Lordly will be full of vigor again and take another concubine." Ha 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 ha. The office was filled with laughter. Li Yinsong smiled and waved his hand. "Minister Dong, please don't make fun of me. I'm old. My strength fails me. If it can refresh my mind, this old man will be satisfied. Why not send someone to take a look now? This tea is called great quality celestial tea. I imagine it must have miraculous effects. This old man is also very curious. Luer, go outside and see if there's a tea house selling this great quality celestial tea. If you find it, remember to bring back a serving for us." Luer, the petty official standing guard at the office door, responded and quickly ran out. An hour later, Luer ran back, panting heavily. Lordly, I found it. I found that tea house." The eyes of the people in the office all focused on Luer. Li Yinsong said happily, Good, did you buy it? How much? This old man will pay you. You are bent over, panting heavily. Didn't buy it. I didn't bring enough silver. Can't afford it. Ah, look at you, always so careless. You can't even bring enough money to buy tea. We'll go again later. Zhang Dongxiang was extremely disappointed. Lu Er said aggrievedly, that's not it. It's not that I didn't bring enough money. It's really that the Dapin Tianxian tea is ridiculously expensive. I only brought 10 taels of silver with me. I thought it would be enough to bring some tea for the gentleman. I didn't expect that Dapin Tianxian tea sells for 50 taels of silver per liang. And now there's a purchase limit. Each person can only buy 1 jar. What? It's actually that expensive? Zhang Dongxiang suddenly stood up with an incredulous expression. Then he quickly walked over to Lu Er and asked urgently, with tea this expensive, does anyone buy it? Liu Er smiled bitterly. Yes, plenty of people buy it. Many are stewards and family members of high-ranking officials and nobles who come to buy. I heard it's the emperor's favorite tea. Drinking it has miraculous effects. When I went, I could still buy it. Now I'm afraid even money can't buy it.